What's up, brothers? Sean Don here. You're watching Garage Strength TV.
Throw that ass in a circle, circle. Throw that ass in a circle, circle. Throw that ass in a circle, circle. Throw that ass in a circle.
All right, so we're here with the Throw Show. It's Trevor and I, and we've got Darrell Hill, 2016 Olympian, Diamond League champ from 2017, and NCAA runner-up with a weird tie in 15?
15, yeah.
So, Darrell, I'm extremely excited to have you on the podcast, and again, thank you for being here. And I just, you're the man, and I appreciate this. And of course, I love the jersey that you're wearing there.
That's awesome.
Right, yeah, I had to make sure I was representing when I got on.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So where I just want to start is like walk us through, because I don't think many people even really know your background as a thrower and where you came from, and a lot of these guys come up and they're already throwing, they come out of high school, somebody like a Jordan Geis that might be a 75, 76 foot high school thrower, and like I want people to sort of know that they're capable. I think about Taman a lot of times when I think about Darrell, because he was a 57 foot high school shot putter and he threw it once. And it's
right.
Like, and we've seen him throw 20 plus. It's like that can happen. I mean, Lucas is a good example. Not that Lucas is at your level, but that progression can happen. So walk us through, your high school and then your collegiate career and the progression that you made and why and what you attribute that to.
I went to Penwell High School. As you guys knew, I started throwing like towards the end of my sophomore year. I was wrestling at the period of time, and like I was a football player and a basketball player. But I was ever since I was a kid, every season I did something. So like during the winter season, I was playing AAU basketball and I was wrestling at the period of time. And it was just okay. I wouldn't consider myself to have been an elite wrestler. I was just another dude on the wrestling team in my high school. And coach asked me if I could come start throwing, and I wasn't good. Like, it wasn't like, it's not that story where you come out the first day and then you start throwing super far and you're like, oh, I love this. It's like, no, I threw 39 feet. And then that season I threw 43 feet, like whatever.
Wait, this is what year is this?
This is 2009.
But what,
your
sophomore year?
Yeah, end of my sophomore year. Yeah.
43 feet.
Yeah, 43 feet. So
That's
I was 43 feet, but I was having a ball. Like, my friends were on the team. Like, it was just about me having fun. I had no real interest in the sport. I was just having fun. So the next year came around, indoor season, and so I just said, I'm not going to wrestle because that wasn't fun. Track's fun. So I'm going to do that. And so I'm throwing now, and I started to have more fun, and just the natural person I am, I wanted to learn about what I was doing. So got to YouTube and tried to, because we didn't have a throws coach in my high school, so just watching all the videos, trying to learn a lot of watching. I watched every Bernie Barnes video there is, because he was the world record holder. In my head, it's like, this is the dude you gotta be like if you want to be great. So I watched all that. And I ended up throwing 60 feet my senior year. I threw 60 feet my senior year and went to University of Houston my freshman year, which was 2012. And I threw, now with the 16-pound shot, 1762, and then transferred to Penn State. And then every year has just been kind of another part of the incline. And I went 1762, I went 1913. Then I went.
I was at that meet when you went 1913.
You were at that meet. I went 1913. I went 1913 at Penn State that year. The next year I went 2057 at Big into my junior year, and then my senior year I went 2086 at Penn State. 2016 was the Olympics and so on and so on.
Actually, I was at the 2086 meet too when you hit that.
You're a magic man, bro. We might have to get you a ticket.
I was at the trials too when you hit the big one at the trials. Now that I'm thinking about it,
what I'm hoping is that Sam gets it going, so he gets your ticket. That way, you're at the next Olympics.
You're at the Olympics.
Yeah.
You can keep this thing going.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome. So you had, your coach. You had Pat Ebel in college, and I still think. One of my favorite videos is when you went 20-57 at Big Tens, and you just
That's my favorite video.
Yeah,
but still my favorite video.
You like sprinting out of the circle was just phenomenal. And I guess what is it that you focused on the most going from that collegiate career where you were NCAA runner-up, multiple-time All-American to that, almost like an underdog professional shot putter that I don't think initially people really bought into who you were and what you were capable of doing.
Right.
Even all the way up until the trials. I feel like nobody really truly thought that you could go 21.63 at the trials and really shock the field, really.
It's really just I'm on this constant quest to try to get better. And my goal is simple. I want to be the best ever. So if that's the goal, then every step of the way, you just focus on trying to get better and better and better and better. So after a 2015 season where I threw 20.86 and I don't make the World Championship team, a lot of people call my career, but I was disappointed because I spent the whole summer fouling all of these throws that 21 mid, throws that would give me opportunities to be competitive with a lot of these guys. So I've seen a lot of fouls that let me know that I had potential to compete because the marks that were getting medals, I think maybe 21.30, something like that got a medal in 15. And I had been fouling 21.40, 21.50 all summer. So I'm like, okay, well, if I could just the story for a while was if I could just ever get one. If I could just ever get one, then I can get an opportunity.
I even remember at Pan Am Games, you had a huge foul. I remember Tim even saying like it was like 21.50, that a big foul that he thought that could have been, and it wasn't that big of a foul for like you didn't like blow out of the circle either.
I think it was because it might have been even the way I was fouling. Like I was bringing the throws into the circle, I was just fouling on the toe board. So if in my head I'm throwing these distances, and I'm not, I'm fouling on the toe board, but when you bring a throw back into the circle, you know that you are physically capable of this mark. You have a technical problem that you need to address, but it's not a physical issue at all.
Right.
So going into the 2016 season, that's why I was so confident because I said, I know that I'm physically capable. I know that I'm competitive enough because at all these competitions, I'm making the ball go. I just need to figure out something. Like, I need to figure out this change I need to make so that I'm not fouling these throws and that I'm keeping them. And I think that's what 2016 was. All the throws I had that summer were throws that I had seen before. I just was not getting fouls. Like, the whole summer, I was like, well, here's just another year of, instead of my heels hitting the toe board, now my heel's flat. So now I'm just getting the marks. Nothing changed other than my heel's flat now instead of hitting the toe board.
So what do you think, okay, so by that time, 2016, you're with Art, and I think that's what I where I want to go. And Trevor, if you have questions with this, is you're starting to focus on that technical aspect, and you're recognizing one, you've got the motor, you've got the speed, you've got the strength and force development, all that stuff, but you're recognizing, okay, I've got a technical error. What was it that, being with Art in the beginning there in 2016 and figuring out how to keep that heel down and all that, do you have a specific model? What was it that got that heel down and anything along those lines?
Man, it's really, really simple. It's not even one thing that we could just talk about. It's just when I got there, we just addressed that over and over and over again, every single day outside of the ring. Like, we weren't even throwing in the ring for a while. We were just throwing on concrete, just practicing, replicating that movement of landing on the heel flat, because it was just something that so kinetically I wasn't doing. Like, when I got to the finish, I was just pulling off and my heel was coming high. So he just had me replicate that movement over and over and over and over again. And for a while, if you look at the beginning of the outdoor season in 2016, for me, it was ugly, man. I had a bunch of meets at 1960, not a bunch, but I had a couple, 1960, 1980. It was this real kind of slow improvement. I mean, because I was going into that season in high 21, feeling like I'm in high 21 shape. But going with Art and having somebody like Art tell me that, one, he can help me with this problem. Two, showing me exactly how he is going to help me change this problem, and just giving me that belief that when it's time, when the trials come, I'll be ready. So not worrying about any competition before June 1st. Literally everything is just a practice of training and training and training. We had spent the whole spring working on just keeping the hill flat. And that's the only difference. When I got to USA's, it was just be yourself and do that one thing that we've been working on all spring. And that was it.
So did you feel like when you made that change with getting the heel down into the toe board, did that mess with your throw? Did that mess with the feeling a lot? Or like how was that adjustment period just from making that technical change and getting back to where you could feel powerful at the finish and feel like you could get everything into it?
For a while it did. For a while it changed just because I was holding everything back from the first half of the throw to try to do that at the front. If that makes sense. Like I was changing everything I was doing in the back to try to make sure that I got my heel down at the front.
Okay.
So for a while it felt less powerful. That's why the distances were so down for about 2 months, because I wasn't comfortable with, like I couldn't go full speed and know that I got to get my heel down at the front, because it was something I hadn't been doing for years. And then the funny thing about it is now I feel most powerful when I get my heel down.
Yeah.
I think that,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
that's huge for just like people to understand too, that like, you know, having that long-term goal of making that technical change for, you know, looking forward into the future that this needs to happen and not worrying about what happens in between that time.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm a big picture person. So that's I think that's one of my best traits, is that I can have a big goal and put it on the board and work backwards from there, and really, because I feel like I surround myself with the right people. I feel like that's important. Being with Art, being around Joe, and believing in myself, I'm saying this is the team that is going to help me do it. And if I just trust in this, when this date comes, I know if I just be myself, I can accomplish whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish, which at that period of time was making it to the Olympics. And that kind of achieving that goal really kind of put the stamp on me and Art's relationship. I said, okay, you could tell me to go do 3 backflips and thumbs up now. Like, you got me. You helped me.
That's
you
awesome.
helped me do this one thing, get this heel flat. I saw the mark. I made the team, and he's just looking at me like, oh, like it's not him. It's not like he looked at me like it's not rocket science. I didn't coach you up and change everything. I just helped you do one thing, and this was all you. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready.
Walk us through that prep into the trials, because I remember. I'm going to talk trash here because I predicted that Darrell was going to make this team, and I have video evidence, because I don't know if I was drinking with Calmus or I was doing something stupid, and we were up in the stands and he was live streaming it, and I was like, Darrell's going, and I think I said Darrell Krauser. And I was a little unsure about the third. But anyway, I just want to brag about that first. You're warming up, and you know I remember Joe warming up, and he's got that big grunt. I don't know if he still does, but at the time it was like every throw was like boo, and you could hear you could feel the intensity of the competition, and you know Krauser looked good, Krauser looked solid, but something that struck me is that it looked like you were walking around with a bubble around your body. Like it was like you were not associating with anybody. And like I remember you hit like one real solid warm up. I think you probably looked at Art and gave like the head bob, like, okay, now it's time. Like I'm ready. And everybody, like to me, your approach was get a good solid first throw, and then it's over, because you know that's what it was. It was good, you know, what, high 20, 2080, 2090, and then 2163 second throw, game over right away. And it was that throw. I mean, I got chills right now thinking about it. That was like you were your warm ups, and that's what I try and get. You know, even what like with Rachel is that you've got to be in a whole nother world, a whole nother zone, and that display. I wish I knew what I know about social media and even just capturing that moment, because the whole time you were on lockdown and no one was taking you out of that goal, and that goes back to being the big picture person, I think.
Man, it's refreshing to hear you notice that, because that's where my head was. That was one positive of being around Art at that point in time, is because outside of getting physically ready for the competition, he laid it all out for me throughout the whole process of 2 weeks before of what it was going to look like. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to go to the qualifying round. You guys are going to stick together. You guys are in separate rings. You do this. You get your mark early. We're going to have this for. We're going to do this for lunch. He went as far to tell me, okay, Adam Nelson's in the competition. He's going to rip his shirt off. He's going to be amped. He's going to be excited. The crowd is going to love it. And I'm letting you know now that you better not pay attention. Like, just like knowing he mapped it out for me. And the beautiful thing about it was, as the day was going on, I just was watching everything unfold. And I said, okay, well, this is what we talked about. This is what's happening. I watched Adam. He ripped his shirt off. I said, oh, he's ripping his shirt off. This is what like, we knew what was going to happen. And we just had a plan. Everything was a plan. Like the plan. And I was comfortable with my own training, and I just knew that it wasn't about anybody else. It was just about, if I put forth the performance that I knew I could achieve. That was the one thing. When you get to a point where it's not about anybody else. It's if you execute what it is that you want to do, you can achieve the goal. That one feeling, when you get to that point in your brain, it's like, well, I'm not worried about anybody else because I'm worried about trying to execute this goal. So it is the warm-up. So Joe's yelling, he's doing his thing. But I've got my own warm-up. So I'm watching myself warm up, and I'm like, that's good, that's good, that's good. I am ready. And that was the plan. Go out, get a solid throw in round one. It was 2098. I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, right. When I seen that, I knew. I said, round two.
I even think I remember you hit it, you came out, and you did like the head bob, like, okay. Yeah. And then the next throw, bam! It was that celebration too. Is one of my.
I wanted to win. Like that was the big thing about it for me. Also, is I realized early, if I'm not trying to win, I can lose. Like I have to be trying to win. So even when there was Joe and there was Ryan, and I didn't win, but the reason why I threw far is because I was in an attempt to win. Right. And my plan was, after 2098, I said, okay. No one else threw far. I was winning after the first round. I said, it's time to put a stamp on this competition. I could take the lead right here and make everybody else uncomfortable, but then Ryan beat me to it and threw 22 right before me. So I was like, okay, well, I was already preparing for a big throw, so I said, well, I still got to get my throw, but he definitely threw it a little further than I did.
I even think, going a little full circle, watching the comp this year, and I just realized that even in the beginning of this podcast, I didn't even address that he was the national champ last year, which is pathetic. Oh. But watching that comp, because I just love like the little stuff that you do, and watching that comp in Des Moines, and I felt like that was the same. It was almost the same situation, and everybody knew. I don't know. Everybody knew that you had that one like the whole time, and in my mind at least, even though Krauser was in there, it didn't. The energy was in your favor, and I don't. It's like watching a football game sometimes where you can't really measure it, but you feel it, and I don't know if that. And maybe that's something that Art did teach you, how to carry yourself and how to have that confidence and know, like, I did the preparation, I'm here.
Right.
So I guess what I wanted you to do too is, like, I want you to walk us through a throw. Like, what does Darrell Hill think about, the steps, like you're putting the shot in your neck, every little thing. What are you trying to achieve technically? What are you trying to feel, physically? What are you trying to capture each position when you go into smash mode?
Dang. All right, so I'm stepping the ring, load the shot, and what I'm thinking of is I'm trying to go fast. I'm definitely trying to go fast. And I'm trying to go fast with as much balance as I can get. I'm trying to make sure that I load the left out the back because I know I'm going to sweep aggressively. If I'm trying to go fast, I know my right leg's going to be sweeping really aggressively. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm over my left and that I'm balanced and that my chest isn't down, because if I know if my chest isn't down coming into the center, then I'll be my hips will be underneath me when I get into the power position. So I'm bringing a big right sweep in. I'm making sure my chest is up, and I'm pushing off my left as aggressively as I can. And when my left hits down, I'm getting it off the ground as aggressively as I can too, and I'm slamming the front with a flap right here.
Okay. I'm writing this down.
That's a lot. So do you now when you're like actually like that throw at the 2016 trials, that
right.
your second throw, like what is that what you were thinking in the back of the circle? Like all that was kind of swirling around in your head at once, or was it like?
I was thinking, be as aggressive as you can, and when you get to the front, make sure that heel is flat. Because I didn't have I didn't have the rest of that developed yet. I just knew that I could go fast, and I knew just to throw. I just knew how to throw. I just knew whatever it looked like, I was just going to be aggressive across the ring. And when I got to the front, I was going to punch as hard as I could and slam my heel into the ground as hard as I could. And if I did both of those things, I knew, one, I wasn't going to foul, and that the ball was going to go. I was going to yell as loud as I can, punch as hard as I can, and make sure my heel was flat. That was the only thing I thought about.
I think it's interesting because it's a little more like when I did a podcast with Stipe, and he had said mainly talking about 2017 Worlds, and he had sort of mentioned how he was approaching that with like this empty head, like he was trying to go into the circle and just cut his brain off because he didn't want to think too much.
Right.
And it's interesting for me because I think some athletes can get away with what you just said. You punch as hard as you can and you put the freaking heel down, and it's a much more practical approach. Whereas, Stipe might be a little bit, and that might also be his background. He was in kickboxing, so it is a little bit more of like a flow type sport. Where
I'll even comment on that because that's where I am today when I get to high level competitions. It was great to hear you say that. He said that because we train so much. I train so hard so that when I get to a competition, I can turn my brain off. A perfect example of that is, and I was just saying this, is my Diamond League final throw. Is that throw for me is what 100% effort and zero thinking looks like. That's what, like in my head, when you pick a throw and you say, what is you going at 100% and you not thinking look like? And that's the throw for me. Is I was at that point, I said, I'm not thinking anymore. I'm just gonna go and be as aggressive as I can and just throw, because you train all year. How I look at it, you train all year so that when you get to those pressurized moments, your body is reacting. You're not thinking. Your body's just doing its muscle memory. Yeah. At that point.
How did that feel? That's what. So I wanted to go into that comp, and then and I feel like Jason might be able to correct me on this, but I think that last comp you had last year, at the end of last year, all 6 throws over 22. I don't think it's ever been done. I'm pretty sure it's the best series in the history of mankind, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. And what I want to know is, like, can you make a comparison for us? Because like, dude, I'm sitting here and I'm just like dumbfounded, like, because I can't relate. That's a 22:43 or 22:44, I think it was, to win the Diamond League.
Right.
And then follow that up the following year, 6 throws over 22, arguably the best series to ever be put together by a human being here. And it's like, I just don't. I can't even fathom those marks and that that intensity and the pressure or the mental state you're in to achieve that. So it's like, right. I just want to peek inside your brain a little more.
Man, it gets pretty dark at that. And to be completely honest, I really don't know. Like, it's just something I just know that when the championship time rolls around, there's another level that my body feels like it can achieve. I'm moving faster, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like I'm moving slow. It feels like I have more control over my movements, and the ball just starts going. I promise you, Dan, it doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah.
It literally is when the time comes around, it could just be a week. I joke with my coach all the time now, because this is our second year together. So last year we're training in hopes that when the end of the season comes around, that we did it right and that we are going to prepare, and then you'll just feel like you can compete. So now I know. I just look at him, I say, you know, all of this sucks today, but I'm going to get about a week, you know, one good week at the end of the year, you know. And we just joke about it. So I'm going to get a week where everything is just great and the ball is flying. And it's just, and during that week is when everything that I've been working on all year is just going to click. Like, and that's just, I don't know. It's weird. I feel like, that's why I feel like I'm going to break the world record. Because I feel like I'm going to keep preparing and keep getting better, and then there's going to be a time where I'm just going to feel good. It's going to go.
Right. So I wanted to ask about like his mental approach, your mental approach, Darrell, when you're in training then. Because you're saying, you know, where it is such a different, you know, and I see the videos that Coach Garza puts up. So I'll say that too. You're with Greg Garza now, and I'll see some of the videos that he puts up where you guys are working through the position in the middle or whatever it might be. Are you really, really mentally, you know? And I always say, it's funny because even Rachel and Mo will say this too. Darrell's the one who always looks the best in those videos. I'm like, well, no shit. He had 6 throws over 22. What do you expect? But what are you thinking? You know, when you're approaching a technical change in practice, what's your mental approach with something like that?
So it was different last year, right? Because I'd like to just come on here and tell you that switching coaches is the easiest thing in the world, and that it's just it's all great, and you just openly trust people and everything that they have to say. But it really does not work that way. Last year was a great year for me and my coach, but it took a lot of debates. Like, I'm a person, I don't feel like I know it all, but I do a lot of research and homework, and I felt a lot of things in the throw. So if you're telling me to do one thing, you have, and that's why I have a different appreciation for movement now, is because when anybody's telling me to do anything, you have to explain to me why and how it connects. Mm-hmm. And my coach is really good at that. He has a lot of ideas, and he was really patient with me because I'm not the easiest person to work with. Saying, hey, do this out the back, and I'm like, well, why though? Because that changes this, and that doesn't connect to this, and so he was just able to explain to me the reasoning behind what he was asking me to do and how they connect so that I could see it. So now it's just trust. You know, if he tells me, hey, you need to do this with your left arm, I'm like, okay, because I know that I can trust his knowledge, I can trust his direction, and I believe he has just a good feel for movement in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like a lot of that can just be down to, like, I mean, as you're building that trust, at the same time that's happening, you're understanding how each other communicate and how he's understanding, like, more of what you feel in the circle and what you're trying to transfer, what you feel in the circle to what he's saying, and just that all that kind of goes on at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
What did you notice anything between Art and Coach Garza where, as far as like the strength side in the weight room, did you notice any drastic difference? Is it similar? And you know, what would you say that you're focusing on the most when you're in the weight room?
So it's actually a bit different because when I was with Art, he pretty much controlled the whole thing top to bottom. Lifting, throwing, like it was all one big mirage of training. So now it's different because now my coach does all my throwing, and I have my strength coach, Damian Myers, who's at the Olympic Training Center, who does all my lifting. He was around every step of the way through my period of time with Art. He had been with Art the whole period of time that he was down in Chula Vista. So he has a really good feel of my history of lifting and things that make me throw well. So especially last year, I just wanted my coach's brain for movement. They communicate and they have an understanding of what I'm doing in both areas. Like, it's not like they're in the dark, but like my throws coach, Coach Greg Garza, he focuses on throwing for me. And every day I leave there, and then I go to the training center, and I go with Coach Jamie, and we do lifting every day. But there's a communication as, so how's this going here? What you doing here? What you doing here? How's strong going? And making sure everything still connects. But I have two different people who focus solely on two different things.
Okay. Trevor?
So one thing I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if this is like, I don't know if it's confidential or anything, but like, what are you actually focusing right now on, like in the circle, like technically? Like, is it kind of you just trying to feel things out, or is it like a specific thing that you're trying to fix right now in your throw?
Overall, it's efficiency. It's just overall trying to be more efficient. Like, it's trying to achieve distance and do less, so then you can do more within the movement and achieve more distance. That's how I view it. You become more efficient when you decide to add in more energy in different areas. That should in turn become into more distance in a nutshell. So just trying to be more level, entering into the middle. I'm trying to work on rotating better in the middle. It's just one of the things that I don't do as well. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to work on is using my right foot turn a bit more in the middle this year. I think I can get a little bit more out of that.
Do you think this is actually something that I was talking with actually Legend a little bit? So we were talking about the right side. So I used to always say, like, I would very rarely cue moving the right foot. Then I would say probably a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I did start to talk more about turning the right foot. And now I'm sort of, as a coach, in this position where I believe the left leg can influence how not mine, but the athlete's right foot would turn. I think the left arm might influence how that right foot actually turns. And I think the right quad can even influence how that right foot would turn. So it's like 3 other influencers that can impact what your right foot is doing and how that right shoulder would then contribute. And I guess what I wanted to ask you, because I always feel, I mean, this is my favorite. Trevor's going to make fun of me. I want to know, what is your left arm doing? Like, what do you ever think about anything like in the middle? And I think with Joe, where I always notice is like, his right would hit, and then you see him like wrap hard with that left and then open wide with that left arm on the finish. And I wanted to know, do you think about that? Is that something that you cue up technically or no, or what?
No, not actually. My left arm is more of a directional and a balance tool for me. It's more of you go to the center, it's more of a directional tool to get across the ring, and it's a balance tool because when the left arm goes down, so does the chest. So the place and where I'm holding it is more for balance and more for direction for me. I do get a little bit of a natural re-wrap, not as much as Joe, but I'm not cueing that as much as it just kind of happens naturally where it just stays back a bit. I feel like Joe may work on that where he is intentionally throwing that arm back to get more separation. But for me, it's more of a reaction to me trying to hold the left to make sure that I'm more balanced. So.
Right. Okay.
Then do you actively throw it at the front then, or is it more just all right side of the front?
It's all right side. I need to be better at that.
Okay.
If I'm being honest,
that's where the world record is, Darrell.
Maybe so. That's another thing I'm also trying to improve on is getting more. A little more linear in my finish. I'm getting better at it. Last year was a step in the right direction, but there's more. So I want to get more on that too. Instead of pulling off of it as much, I want to get more into the sector with my right side.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I've got a lot of thoughts going through my head. I still think it's crazy. Darrell threw 6 throws over 22 meters last year.
If we go back to that actually for a little bit. I was just going through those videos, and like you were really, it really looked like you were missing it. Like just your reaction after the throws. It seemed like you felt like there was a lot more there, and that you were kind of just not quite feeling it. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know, but
no, it's not wrong. It's just like I was losing for the second half of those throws. I was losing.
Okay.
So I was digging for about 20 centimeters trying to win. Like if you ask me, how do you get 6 throws over 22? I say open up at 22 and then have somebody else throw really, 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 really far, and then figure out mentally how you can figure out how to win. That's how you get 6 throws over 22. Is I was just trying to win. Every time I'm like trying to focus on a little, like it forced me to think a little bit more. So I was doing a bit more thinking through that. So I was missing it just a little bit. You know, early in the competition, I was missing a little aggression across the ring, and then I missed the finish a couple times. It was close. Like I don't know if I was in shape to throw 22.70, but what do I know? I don't know. But it was a great day. I think that was I think that moment right there is where me and my coach's first year together kind of comes into play, because we spent so much of the year just trying to get to know each other and learn movements while competing, because I did the whole indoor season. So we never really had a big break of time where we could just focus on just movements and training. We were competing the whole year. I competed all year. So when you get to that period of time, there's a few technical things that I might not be as sharp as, but I'm competing. So it's that 1 week that I talked about where the ball's flying and I just don't have just that crisp technique that I can dig into to throw 22.62.
Yeah.
Right. I guess, okay. So this goes back to the mind game that you have, and the confidence that you have. And what's scary to me is to think about, you're 25 now, right?
Yeah.
He's like, to me, so you're 25, you have 6 throws over 22 meters, and the fact that very few people, I mean, I've even mentioned you and I don't do a good enough job of like talking trash that he could break the world record.
Yeah.
But you're 25 years old. So, you know, go back in time. You go to the Olympics. You're 23 when you qualify for the Olympics. You had that mental game when you're 23. You've got 2 years under your belt now at that elite level. You have the best series possibly ever. I want Jason to fact check that. He says it's accurate. You win the Diamond League. Mind games now, do you play mind games with anybody else, or are you just playing your own game and everybody's got to chase you? Like, are you know, I always heard the stories, and even Reese, when I did a podcast with Reese, and he sort of talked about some of the things he would love to do was like talk to everybody else because he knew it always pissed people off. And it's like, are you so good now that you play those mind games, or do you just worry about yourself and that's it?
If I'm being 100% honest, I'm not interested in any mind games.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it's healthy. I think the moment you start focusing on what you can try to do to deter somebody else from their success, you focus a bit less on your own success. So for me, I am strictly focused on trying to get better, like, because I know that I can compete at a really high level. So, and I know I'm going to need to compete at a really high level to beat the people that I'm trying to beat. So there is no mind games. Like, the only mind game is showing up to a competition prepared and really confident, because that's more scary than anything I could ever say to anybody.
Right.
Like, I could tell a joke, you know, but if I can't throw 23 and Ryan Krauser can, then I lose, and he'll laugh at me afterwards. So, you know, like, I'm not even interested in that, because these dudes are too good. Like, they're too good. So the only way to beat those guys is straight up. You got to beat them.
Yeah. So, are you going to go to U.S. Indoors this year?
No.
Okay. Here's my question. Do you ever think, because I'm sitting here going, I mean, maybe the year, you know, World Indoors is that 2020 or 2021?
2020.
Okay, so do you ever sit there and go, first step, I want to break the world record indoors? Because I think you can. I think you could right now, but I think, I mean, obviously it's far, but it's one of those things where it's like, you know, in 2020 it's an Olympic year. Do you ever challenge yourself that way? But at the same time, I'm going, you know, you're 25, you're going to be 26, 27. You do have a couple more indoor years that you could try and chase that. Is that of any interest, or is it more like, nope, all I care about is, you know, winning the Olympic title, winning a world title, breaking the world record outdoors?
I mean, I'd be lying to say that it's a world record. So any world record is interesting. Like, but I'm, like we said before, it's a big picture goal for me. So if I break the indoor world record which is 22.66, so that means I would have to have thrown 22.66 to break 22.67 to break the indoor world record. If I broke the indoor world record at 22.67 and didn't win the Olympics, I'd be really upset with myself. So it is enticing, but in the grand scheme of things, the things that are important to me are outdoor world championships and the Olympics. Like I would love to make an attempt at it, but I have to see how does this season go because it's so late. You know, like how does my body feel in October? Like when the season's over, am I just ready to go? Do I feel great? Like, do I just roll into trying to compete into the indoor season, or do we shut it down to try to prepare for the Olympics? Because the Olympics is a little bit earlier than usual. So the period of time in between makes it a little iffy to guesstimate, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm interested in it, and it sounds great, but I don't want to lose an opportunity at something great outdoors trying to chase a mark, you know. I mean, I plan to do indoors 2020, so if I'm doing it, then I'm going to be trying to throw real far. So,
so you're going to break the world record indoors 2020.
Put it out there. Why not?
That's a clickbait. That's the first one. Yeah, I mean, do you want to do any, like, Darrell, let's just go real quick, because we do get a lot of these questions. Like, what's your best bench press?
230, which is 506 for now.
What's your best? You do cleans or snatch at all or jerks? I don't catch cleans anymore. I do clean pulls. Okay. But I've gone 185 on clean pulls for a double. Okay. But I don't catch cleans anymore. Jerks, I've done 210 kilos. What's that? What's 210? 462.
Okay, yeah, I've done that. Squats, I've done 315 kilos, 310 kilos. Hopefully all of these numbers are gone soon. Yeah, that's what I
310's huge. That's huge. Okay. We get a lot of questions just about that, because it's like people, but at the same time, I think it's important that people, like the high school kids even hear, like, you know, where were your strength levels when you were in high school? And again, it doesn't, you know, you threw, as a sophomore, you threw 43 feet, so the progression's there if people want to follow.
I wasn't lifting really in high school. My senior year, we did, we lifted with our gym teacher. So we did like curls and stuff. Like, I didn't squat until I got to college. We did, I never cleaned or anything until I got to college. We did bench press. I think I got 315, 320 my senior year. So like, we really weren't doing any weight room training. I ran a lot in high school. Like, that was, in high school, throwing for me was running based, because we had a really, really, really good track program. So I did a lot of running and jumping in high school. Like, I ran a couple 4x4s, and I'd run indoors in the hallway. Our team, like, it sucked, but that was, and I had a lot of carryover from the football season. So it was football training and driving the sled and, you know, just offensive alignment, defensive alignment training, like rolling into the indoor season. That was where most of my strength and stuff kind of came from. But we didn't do much lifting. Okay.
Yeah, I just think, you know, heading into this year, I don't know. I just, you know, when do you plan on opening up, if you don't mind? I mean, if you don't want to share, that's fine too.
Okay. Mid-April, I'm thinking. I haven't decided between UCLA or San Diego. No, not San Diego State. UC San Diego, which is the Triton. So I haven't decided if I'm going to open up at Triton or UCLA.
UCLA is where you went like 2190. Was that last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, 2017.
2017. All right. Yeah, I'm excited to watch. I'm excited too, just because and this is a question I do have, is like, let's say you make the Pan Am Games. Is that where, do you want to go down to Pan Am Games and then come back to Worlds, or do you look at it more like, well, I want to lay low until Worlds?
I haven't really looked at the schedule to see where Pan Am fits, like as far as Diamond Leagues or like competitions, like. But I'm interested in things. Like, I'm the guy who likes to go to all the competitions, represent the U.S. if I can. A goal of mine is to win every gold medal there is to offer. So, a want to go. I want to go to Pan Am's. If I do go, I'm gonna be trying to break the record, whatever that is. I think Dane might have it at 21:67 or something. So, if it does fit in the schedule and I get the opportunity, then I'm definitely going to try to go and try to throw far. And so I hope it fits. I'm not really sure yet if it does.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions, Trevor?
One thing I do want to ask, and we, just for any high schoolers or college throwers listening in, what would you say is your best piece of advice for people grinding through college? Maybe you've had some bad meets, or maybe you're just focused on training. What is your biggest advice for the throwers listening?
Man, you just gotta believe in yourself. It sounds real cheesy and corny, right? But this isn't football, man. It's not a contact sport. You can't hit me and knock me back 5 yards. You can't interfere with what I can do to be great. When you step into the circle, it's a one-on-one game. It's literally just you. So I feel like a lot of people get caught up in looking at the starting list, seeing who's going to be there. They get caught up in that. It's a big thing for throwers. I did the same thing. So that's a big thing. Or getting caught up in, a bad meet that you might have had, but it's just you in the ring. So just focus on believing yourself. Trust the people that, your coaches, especially people who go to college, you signed to that college, so you trust the person who is there with you. That's your coach. He or she has your best interest at heart. So trust the people that you're working with. And when you get to a competition, trust that you're prepared and just believe in yourself.
I think I want to add, just because you did say this before we went live, is that one of the things you even mentioned was being a sponge. You're a sponge, and that's why you're at the level you're at. Is you are a sponge. You're soaking up as much information as you can, and even just you talking about with Coach Garza, it's almost like he's educating you and you're educating him, and it's like this give and take, and you're taking in as much information and knowledge as you can, because it's going to make you better. I think that's important.
I am the spongiest sponge who ever spun. I'm watching all the videos. I am listening. Obviously, you got to decipher through information, because not all information is good information. But I've gone through enough information that I can look at it now and just hear somebody else's perspective and why they do what they do, because I'm just interested now in how things correlate. So I'm interested in, if somebody does something one way, I'm not interested in trying to tell you that you do it wrong. I'm interested in hearing why you do it and being able to look at it and see how those things correlate. So yeah, just be open to information and do the homework, man. It's, especially now, there's so much information available. Dudes are throwing, the videos are everywhere. YouTube is everywhere, man. And there's so much information out there. So just be a sponge and watch interviews like these and just listen to people talk. I'm more interested in what's going on in people's head, what's going on in the ring. So
yeah. All right, let's go to the. We've got something called the Red Hot Minute. So we're gonna ask you a whole bunch of different questions.
Okay.
And I'm just excited because Darrell's he's got the 13th furthest throw of all time, and he's got the best series of all time, and we get to have him on the Red Hot Minute.
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
So do you want to go first?
Yeah, I just got 2 questions. One's more serious question.
So wait,
is this the Red Hot Minute, or we just answer a question?
You just answer, but it'll be some of them are gonna be dumb.
Answer them fast if you can. If you want to expand on them, you can. Whatever.
Okay.
But you actually you did talk about this a little bit, but more of a yes or no would be good to have. If you were to pick one or the other, and I say go for both, but the Olympic gold or the world record, which would you pick?
Olympic gold, easy.
That's
really?
Stupid.
Easy.
What?
That's an easy one.
I would have made it. You gotta word it like this. Okay, Olympic gold, or he breaks a world record on his last throw at the World Championships to win the world title. So he gets a world title and a world record on his last throw, or
the Olympics.
The Olympics. Because I think
that made it a little bit more difficult, but the Olympic gold is still that's king.
Okay.
If I leave this sport and I leave the sport at 22:44, right, and I'm an Olympic gold medalist, yeah,
There we go.
And like Ryan Krause could retire today, and he's one of the greatest ever. Right?
Yeah.
You know, he broke the Olympic record. He's got the Olympic gold. Like when you think of the sport of track and field, you learn about the World Championships, but you know about the Olympics before you take a step into whatever the sport is. So Olympic gold is king. Yeah.
What's your other one?
All right, my other one is Pennsylvania or California.
Well, for Pennsylvania.
I'm not gonna say anything other than just one or the other. All right. Good.
All right, I got a couple that go off of that, and Jason's already mad at me for wanting to ask this, but this mainly just goes back to where we're from. That's Pat's or Geno's.
Oh, ew.
That's what he said.
Either, man. Jim's on South Street or Larry's in West Philly by St. Joe's University.
So my mom grew up.
You had to choose one, Pat.
Okay, my mom's from Roxborough, so we would always go to D'Alessandro's.
Yeah, that's number 3 for me. They're really good.
Yeah.
Really.
Meek Mill or Wu-Tang Clan?
Meek Mill.
Boom! Get out of here.
Listen, that's an era question, man. I grew up being in Philly with Meek Mill. Like it's gonna be hard. You know,
yeah.
Looking people for him over me.
Okay. I got 2 goofy ones. Well, three goofy ones coming up. Okay. Frosty from Wendy's or a milkshake from the Creamery?
Milkshake from the Creamery. No question. No debate. That was easy.
I'm going to preface this. Darrell's a Cowboys fan. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah, I knew. He posted all over the place.
Right. If you didn't know, I was going to be disappointed. I'm in myself, not in you.
You're in the Super Bowl. You get to pick one quarterback. Dak Prescott or Nick Foles. Who are you going with?
Oh, Nick Foles. Let me say this.
Nick Foles.
I'm not an Eagles fan by any stretch, but that dude Nick Foles, man, in the playoffs, I don't know. He's got. Can I expand on this for a second?
Please.
Can we replay this at some point next year during the football season?
Yeah.
He's not going to be on the Eagles, so it doesn't matter. But I watched him, right? Because now that I watch sports at a high level, I'm just looking at the psychological aspect of it more than anything. And the Eagles started to get real scary to me because I looked at Nick Foles and I realized that he won the Super Bowl, right? And he did the greatest thing ever. And then I thought to myself, the first time I won anything, right? Like when I won a Diamond League Final, for example, my mental capacity going into the 2018 season was so different. The things I felt like I was capable of accomplishing were so drastic in comparison to the year before. And I was watching Nick Foles, and I was like, I don't wonder what's in. So I had if the Eagles would have won the Super Bowl again with Nick Foles, I would have been like,
you can relate.
Because I wonder what I was like. His brain's got to be just in a different planet right now. He's already reached the height. Like Tom Brady. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I got 2 more. Favorite Pennsylvania indoor state champion? Scott Rushton or Jason Kuhn?
Jason Kuhn.
Good. Okay. We're in Doha. It's October. You got Darrell Hill, Tom Walsh, or Ryan Krauser. Who are you taking?
Me.
What kind of question is that?
Smart money's on me.
What's crazy to me is that like just reading that, it's like that's where the world record could go down. Like that's where it could be. Let's say you do. In my mind, I'm playing this out already. You go 22:40. Tom Walsh comes out 22:60. Krauser goes 22:60. He's coming back 23 plus, and it's like, dude, that's how I just see all this playing out.
Can I just say this and get it? Isn't it crazy to think that this one World Championships, you're going to see 3 of the greatest of all time, and they're all under the age of 27.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is how young you guys are. But I I believe Walsh is wired, Krauser's wired. You've all got good technique, but I think you're the one. I think you're the one who I think you're going to win the world championship, and I think because of where your mind is right now, but also because of your approach to the sport. You are, like you said, you are the sponge, and you can just see, like, at least I can see the way you conduct yourself and handle it. So I just, dude, I'm excited to see how this year plays out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I feel the same way, but I got to make sure I cross my T's and dot my I's. There's so many things that transpire within a year before we even get to that point that I won't overlook. Yeah. And I got to make sure I don't, you know, like that. And that's the, outside of all the brash confidence and just feeling like I can accomplish all these things, I'm really, really, really detail oriented. So I'm taking everything one step at a time. Like, that's why you asked me where you're going to open up. I said, I don't know. That's 2 months away. Like, I'm focused on tomorrow's practice. Like, and when that time comes, I'll be ready for that. And before I even think about a world championship, I'm trying to be U.S. champion again. So, like that's it sounds cliche, but that's honestly where my brain goes. Like, I'm focused on trying to be U.S. champion 2 years in a row if I can help it, because there is no world championships without the U.S. top 3. So, you know, that's where my focus is. But if I get the opportunity, yeah, it'll be good.
All right, Darrell, awesome. I appreciate you so much for being on here. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, peace.
I thought that this camp was invaluable to my technique and how I throw.
My distance has already improved a ton.